Uh, very good afternoon to all. Today, we are going to have a very short introduction to product design. My name is Kushal Jadav. I have been in the education domain since past 13, 14 years. I have started as a visiting faculty for product design, and then eventually I have taken the mainstream courses, and then uh, I've taken all the administrative positions in various institutes. So today, what I'm going to show you right now is a few of my earlier projects, which may be very introductory in terms of the depth of design which is involved. Right. So this particular slide which you see is a project which I had done in 2006. So I'll just show you a few images and then we'll go into the presentation. I'll just tell you what all things are there. So way back in 2006, this project was given to me saying that this is a cap sense or a feather touch kind of switch, which was to be injection molded. These switches will have some of smart options, but at that time smart options were not so much available or required in the market. So what you see right now is in the background, you see a sketch, pencil sketch, then a digital model, and then a few drawings and the prototype. So this was one of my few initial projects which I had done. There are some mock-ups which are shown to the client, and there is a testing which is also involved. So on, off, and then there is a small IR receiver in the center, which you can see. And there is also a remote which is there. So after that, this is a video door phone. So nowadays you see in most of the housing societies where the door phones are there. So there is an external unit and there is an internal unit. This is a monitor unit, which has a display, a camera, a mic, and speakers, and then it is connected to the internet also. This is the adjustable camera door unit. Yeah. This is something called as a flow meter. So flow meters are used to measure the rate of flow of a liquid. So it may be a fuel system like petrol or diesel, or it can be something like a slurry, which is concrete or water required in the concrete. So flow meters are used in wide application. This particularly was for water in irrigation. So these were few initial renders and sketches and all those things. And this was the final output. So you can see some of the features which are mentioned on it. This was one of the variants of that same flow meter without any adjustment in the mounting. Okay, so this was an inline flow meter. As you can see, there are some inspirations taken from the product itself. So there you can see some lines which represent the flow, and there are the bubbles. So the idea of giving the bubbles was to incorporate bigger components in the on the PCB. Pressure gauge. So this is a diathermy machine, short wave SWD. So this is used in physiotherapy. So this was the final output. Now I will show you also the original product which I started with. So this was a grounds up kind of design where I had to redesign the complete configuration or internal architecture of the product itself and the UI. So some of the residential India, some of the rendering projects, flow meters. Yeah, this is my degree project sort of, but I will go into depth of this sometime later. These are the examples of mock-ups and model making. So all of things which you see in this slide are handmade models. So now coming to the original topic, which is supposed to be discussed. Am I audible clearly? Anybody? Nachiket?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. So now we'll majorly deal into these four questions, which are very basic to everyone. Okay. Now, as there is a little bit less awareness about design, it is widely misunderstood. It's supposed to be sort of art or hobby or something like that. But I think these four questions are very vital in terms of the understanding of design. So first is, what is design? What does it mean to us? What is modern design and what are its functions? Okay, so basic four questions we'll deal today. So there are various definitions of design. Okay, creative problem solving. Okay, this is one of the widely used term. Form following function. So usually designers always say form following function. Now, what is form? That is the most important thing. And then form following function. So function comes first and then the form. Okay. Third definition is consumer engineering. So this actually defines where the design is involved. So it is purely based on the consumer, the user, or the customer. Okay. So the technology understanding, the materials understanding, the implementation understanding is all in the application phase. Okay. Or it can be machine art. But according to me, I like to keep things simple. So design, according to me, has a very simple definition. So it is basically involving only two things. So design is to plan and to execute. Okay. So first we plan and then we execute. So any activity which requires planning and then execution is called as design. Okay. So this is the first definition which I would like to understand myself. So what does it mean to us? What does it actually mean to us? So design as a profession, and there are many people involved in design. There are engineers, there are doctors, there are marketing people, there are let's say people, non-technology related people. So in this profession, so what actually is the purpose of design? So design should evoke an emotional response. So if there is a stone lying around, okay, so whether it evokes an emotional response or not, that is the most vital response which a design should fulfill. Okay, so emotional response means, let's say you look at something and let's say you are using a pen. Okay, so while using that pen, whether you like it, whether you hate it, it is ergonomic, it is not ergonomic, it is very comfortable, it is not user friendly, all these are emotional responses. So there is no good or bad response. There is always, the best thing for design is to have an emotional response. Okay, so if let's say there is a negative response, so if you say that I would not like to use this product henceforth, which means that there is a progress to be made, there is a vital understanding which is not understood while the design was being done. Okay, or design means that it is conceiving and giving form to objects used in everyday life. I've tried to keep this presentation as simple as possible so that our new learners understand this concept of design in a very edible and digestible way, where it's not a uh, heavy information to digest. Okay, so design is conceiving. Conceiving means inception. Okay, giving birth. So conceiving and giving form to objects used in everyday life. So objects means not just physical objects, but also digital objects, like something like an app or a poster or a film or an ad or a brand identity. So design is conceiving and giving form to objects used in everyday life. What is modern design? Now, this is a very confusing question. Usually when we ask to anyone, what is modern design? So people always go in future, tend to future. Okay. So this is like future, whatever is required in the future, that is called modern design. Whatever is minimalist is modern design. What is this? What is that? So there are a lot of misunderstanding involved with the term called as modern. So modern design is planning and making of objects suited to our way, our abilities, and our ideals. Let's say I am sitting here and I am in need of a camera, web camera, which I can maybe use it for showing my sketches, okay, or act of sketching. So that's our way of life, our abilities, and our ideals. So like, modern design is actually very contemporary. It is right now with this geography, with this ethnography, with this setting, with this surrounding. Okay, so it's not anything related to future. Modern means right now. So modern design should fulfill practical needs of modern life. I think everyone can read this, but I would like to highlight some of the few points which are really important for design. So contemporary advances in fine arts and pure sciences. Okay, let's say there are there are some new advancements in materials. Okay, so it is purely based on let's say chemistry or physics. So these are pure sciences and fine arts. So uh, uh, fine arts are always contemporary arts. Okay, so there are some techniques which involved right now. So the modern design should benefit from that. Should take advantage of new materials and techniques, develop new familiar ones. Yeah, familiar ones. Familiar is a very important word, because if you do something which is really advanced in the way in the future, people won't be able to use it. That happened with many products that were not accepted in the society, but they were way advanced in the future. So that's why familiar ones is a very important word. Modern design should develop the forms, textures, and colors that spring from direct fulfillment of requirement of appropriate techniques and materials. Okay. One more very important thing is that we should not mimic. While doing any design, we should not mimic. Let's say if there is a phone and that phone has a carbon fiber cover, so that carbon fiber should only be used. If you are just putting a texture of carbon fiber, and if it is a polycarbonate or it is a ABS material, then it is not designed. Okay, so we should not mimic anything. We should not show something which is actually not there. It should express the qualities and beauties of materials that are used, and never making the materials seem what they are not. Just I explained that point. Yeah, and it should be used for service of the user. Okay, that is very important thing. So the most important stakeholder in any design process or any design activity is the user or the consumer. Okay, not just the buyer. So if you are designing a packaging for a diaper, then diaper primary user is a child or a baby or an infant, but the buyer is either the parent or maybe some institution. Okay, so what we should consider, so whether the primary stakeholder should be considered, primary user should be considered, primary secondary user should be considered. So all this goes on very different levels. Okay, so we should involve all the inputs from all the stakeholders. Now right now we are trying to think about introduction to product design. So first we should understand what is a product. Okay, so product is set of attributes, okay, offered to consumer to fulfill their needs or requirements. Now product is never mentioned as a physical product. Okay, it is a set of qualities or set of specification which is offered to the consumer to fulfill their needs or requirements. It's as simple as that. Just start. Give me a second. Yeah. So now products can be classified broadly into two categorizations or two distinguishments. First is tangible or intangible. So tangible means something which you can touch, feel, or use, or maybe hold. So those are tangible products, which are goods or useful objects and products which you see lying around, which are mass produced. And intangible products are something like services, like hotels, airlines, doctors, ATMs, insurance. So these are intangible products, apps, websites. So these are intangible products. Or it can be classified into consumer products or industrial products. Okay, so there are two basic classifications of types of products. So product is something sold by an enterprise to its customer. Okay, so now where did this industrial design or product design get its start? So it's obviously started from the mass production age, where there was a requirement of the industry to produce products at a very high volume and a large quantity with a fast pace. So that's why the design was involved along with engineering to make it user friendly also. So suppose you are making a product at very fast rate and it is not used by the user properly, so then obviously the enterprise or the company will fail to sell it. So that's why design started getting its inception from the Europe and then to countries like India. When we first sought for a craft report, so government of India commissioned two designers from Europe to study the crafts in India. They came up with a report called as India Design Report in 1960, and then was established. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the National Institute of Design was established way back in 1960s in Delhi, and then it got moved to Ahmedabad, which is the NID is right there. And there are many more NIDs which are established throughout the country. Now, what did this do? Basically, people studied the craft heritage of India. We have got a huge heritage in terms of crafts. We have got skills in a lot of materials which are naturally available, which are artificially made. Something like metallurgy, we have got huge experience, huge tradition in metals. We have got huge experience and huge skilled people in textiles. So all these were taken into consideration, and then we started making the design policy. Okay. So a product development is a set of activities. So here we are not talking only about product design, but we are talking about product development. Okay. So it is set of activities beginning with the perception of market opportunity. Let's say there is a special type of, so let's say we consider something like a coastal rural area where the groundwater is very hard. There is a very scarcity of fresh water source. Then the kind of products which need to be sold over there are really different. Okay. So similarly, there are examples about the weather, about the geography, about the people, about the lifestyle, especially in the urban areas, metro areas where a lot of products are being sold. So it starts with the perception of a market opportunity. If there is a requirement, then there is a design activity which needs to be involved. Okay. And ending in production, sale, and delivery of the product. So this is called as a product development activity. I am really sorry for the text which is heavy in the slides, but this is really important for everyone to understand what all stages are there in the product design and product development process. So product development is an interdisciplinary activity. Okay. So there is marketing, design, manufacturing involved. Yeah. So marketing obviously identifies the product opportunities. Definition of market segment. Again, this market segment is identified rightly. If you consider something like cars, okay, so specific products are sold in specific markets, right? So there is the entry level vehicles which range from 4 lakhs to 6.5 lakh rupees. Then there is a next car which is there in the segment. So it's a different market segment for all of these products. Maybe the engines are same, maybe the technology or maybe the platforms are same, but the consumer is different, right? So that's why design is differently designed for the different market segment. So, and then the identification of consumer needs is done by the marketing department precisely. Okay. So design then plays a role of giving physical form. So form is a word which is really important over here. Form doesn't mean just the shape. Okay. It's not just the shape of anything. It is basically the shape which has color, texture, tone, size, volume, and the use. Okay. So let's say if you are considering something like a point or a line. So a point or a line is a form. Okay. Why it is a form? Because there is a certain volume, certain area which is involved with the form. Okay. So product design plays a lead role in defining the physical form of the product to best meet the consumer needs. Okay. It includes engineering design. It includes industrial design, right? So these are two parallel activities. So suppose you take a zero line or a number line, numerical line. So at the zero or the origin, there is the product. And At one end, on one side, there is engineering design, and on the other side, there is industrial design. Both of these activities work in parallel and they arrive to a common solution, which is called as a product. Okay, something like an app. So app needs coding and app needs design, both. Okay, and these two things happen parallelly. What engineering design does is that it takes technology and converts into a product. What industrial design does is it takes the human or the user and brings it to a product, brings the human to the product. Okay, so it is mostly the human aspects of design. Manufacturing function is responsible for designing, operating, and coordinating with the production. Yeah, so that is manufacturing design. This is a sort of an example of a product development team where on the outer space, which is the gray areas, so their extended team is there. Some of the examples are already shown. There is legal, sales, finance. Why legal is there? Because the entire design and development activity is an intellectual property based activity. So it is highly confidential, it is highly progressive, it is highly into the future. So none of these data should be leaked outside to any competitor company. That's why legal is involved right at the start. Okay. There is a team leader, may or may not be from design, can be from manufacturing, can be from marketing, can be from design, can be from any domain, who has an expertise of managing the team appropriately according to the project planning. Example is manufacturing engineer is there, purchasing specialist, electronics designer, mechanical designer, industrial designer, and then there is a marketing professional. So this is a core team, and then there are extended teams to all of these. Okay. This is an example of a product development process. So it is quite similar to a Gantt chart. Gantt chart is something which considers the phases of any process with respect to the timeline. So phase 0 to phase 6, phase 5 is shown in this example. So the the development process and organization, it is throughout the process. First is the planning, then there is identification, then there is architecture, then there is design, then there is manufacturing, prototyping, robust design. All these things are involved, right? Okay. So I hope I am audible and a little bit clear to everyone by now. Nachiket and Akshay can respond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So here right now what we can see is a very simple representation of a product design process. Okay. So here you see three lenses. Okay. So three lenses. What do lenses do is they take the rays and they refract or deflect or whatever. They converge and diverge the rays. Okay. So if we consider all these rays as inputs and these meeting points or focal points as the stages in design, then you see a representation like this. So the first stage which is applied to this lens is the product identification and design team, which is formed. Okay. So as you can see, there are huge number of inputs which are there for a project, right? Let's say you want to make a smart watch. So it comes under wearables, it comes under a lot of things like IoT and other technologies, and you have got something like styles and trends and all those things. Yeah. So there's a lot of inputs involved initially at the start. Hence, there is a team which is formed depending on the expertise of the team. Yeah. So what are the considerations in the first lens is the aesthetics for the design team, style, ego, marketing, advertising. What are the objective considerations? It is ergonomics, engineering, marketing, investment, national, international sales, shipping, and all these certifications. Yeah. So when the design team is formed, they have a discussion, they initiate the project according to the Gantt chart, and they arrive to a single definition. Yeah. So we want to design and develop a certain XYZ for a certain market. Okay. So this is called as a product definition or design brief. Okay. After that, again, the entire brief diverges. Okay. So now we have arrived at a brief, and then the brief is then diverged to a lot of points which are called as concepts. Okay. So it is not something which is hobby based or it is capability based or skill based. It is basically relying on the research which is done during this process. So what does research involve? It involves information collection and analysis. It involves questionnaires, it involves logistics, it involves consumer shadowing, it involves anthropometric study, it involves a lot of things which are there in the research phase. Yeah. And then there is something called as concept development. Okay. So we do not never ever we make a single concept. Okay. So concept is something which is idea, which is hypothetical, and which may or may not be implemented. Okay. So to give a full freedom to the entire process and full respect to the entire process, a lot of concepts are developed. Okay. There are some concepts which are involving high tech materials. There are some concepts which are involving emphasis on the ergonomics. There are some which involves purely feature based kind of product development. So all these things are done in the concept development phase, which is the second lens. Okay. When there is a development process involved, there is discussion like brainstorming, there is mind mapping, there is empathy maps, and all these things these processes, what they help is they help us to arrive to a single uh, direction. Okay. It is not a single concept, but single direction. Okay. So we want to go only in this direction, considering features from 3 or 4 different concepts. Okay. So a single concept is not taken forward. There are various features from different concepts which are taken forward. Okay. So that is called as a concept presentation, where you see the second focal point, which is the concept presentation. Now this presentation is done to all the important stakeholders, like the CEOs of the company, the CFOs of the company, the COOs of the company, the marketing people, all the directors, and even to the consumers. Okay. So there is a set of consumers which are identified. They have signed the non-disclosure agreements and they are presented with the concepts. Okay. So a specific set of people are involved in this, and their feedback is taken into consideration. It is not that it is a final word. The feedback given by all of the stakeholders is again taken into consideration. So that's why there is a next lens which is called as a product development phase. Here we arrived at the development phase, where all the entire feedback relating to the form, the technology, the considerations about the future, the different variants in the product. Let's say you have a juicer mixer grinder. Okay. You have a juicer mixer grinder, and you have the entry level product, like only the blender attachment for a lower market segment or the entry level market segment. Then you have something called as a juicer mixer grinder, which has the grinder, the juicer, and the blender. And then you have something called as a food processor. Okay. So the product is same, but it involves different levels of consumers. So then there is CAID, computer aided industrial design, because it is the deliverable in which the design is given to the manufacturing unit. Then there is material selection, there is process selection. Process selection also I will show in some time. Then there is, from engineering, there is CAD CAM, there is material selection, tooling, component selection, whatever, vendors, and all these things are there. Then the final product is presented again to the important stakeholders, and then the final products are launched. Okay. Usually there is a production ramp up after this, where you have the initial batch manufacturing, where again it comes back to the design table, where there are some things which are not identified in the design process. They were identified in the field or in the market, and it comes back to the design board, where things again get considered. Yeah. So that happens after the product presentation. Here is a very interesting project which I want to show, just to lift off the seriousness of the discussion. So this was one laptop per child project. You can obviously Google. Yeah. So this was a laptop which was developed for the underprivileged people kids in Africa. Yeah. So the aim was to have a $100 computer or a $100 laptop. Initially, it was given to certain design firm, but they failed to deliver. That's why Yves Behar, he is a very renowned designer, very quirky and very interesting designs he has. And his company, which is Fuse Project, did this project in a very interesting way, and it was very successful. So that's why I'm showing this project. So it is not just a fun project, but it is also a very considerate and very serious kind of implementation of design. Yeah. So as you can see, all the technology and all the other considerations were done, but a few of the features which directly came from the kids. Yeah. So there were ears. So Wi-Fi antennas were considered as ears. Very customized kind of laptop was made because X and O. So we play this game called as X and O in our childhood. So using this permutation combination of color and these two alphabets X and O, kids could actually customize their own laptop. They could always identify their own laptop. Yeah. So this was the production process. You can see one photograph where kids are using it. There are some images which are, so you can see X and O over here. So a combination of green O and orange X. So it was customized for particular child. So it was a very fun kind of implementation. This was a lamp. I think I can skip this. So this shortwave diathermy, which I showed earlier, so this was the few initial explorations which I did. Then this was the finalized kind of form which was given to it. There are considerations. So this is for prototyping. Okay, this particular design which you see is for prototyping. During manufacturing, there are few more constraints which are involved, depending on the tooling and material and the process which is required. Okay. So, but as far as possible, these considerations are done during the product design phase only. Okay. So this is the final output. Why I'm showing this is that not just the form, but also the UI. So this was done in 2008 for a Bombay-based company. Yeah, 2008. There is an infinite rotation dial where you can select, when you can rotate and select and go to the menus and sub menus and then select and come back to the original position. Yeah. So this is the example of the UI. So UI was developed uh, with considering the physiotherapist. Yeah, because the UI was supposed to be used by the physiotherapist only, not by the patient. Yeah. So that's why there was a huge discussion and research involved with the physiotherapist. Actually, people who are using this machine. Yeah. This is the competitor. Yeah. And this is where I started. So it was a metal enclosure, and due to the metal enclosure, there were certain constraints which were there in terms of what components can be used. Okay. So once we convert everything into plastic, then there is a lot of freedom in terms of the form, in terms of the compactness, in terms of the implementation of the UX and UI. Okay. So user experience and user interface. So here we had the user interface to be a screen. It was not there initially. This is the flow meter. I can just quickly run through this flow meter. These were initial sketches of the flow meter. Initially, the inspiration was a cub, a lion's cub. Yeah. So it's not just for the looks, but because this product was a liquid related field mounted kind of product, so we had to consider the IP67 where it was exposed to the rain, it was exposed to the dust. So ingress protection was completely considered in this project. It had a rubber sleeve also on top. So this was the initial exploration. The back cover in the gray, which you can see, is the battery compartment. So this battery lasted for 3 years. After that, the product typically came for servicing. Now this was initial design and there were little bit flaws in this design. So it was redesigned to this. Yeah. So there is a 15-degree angle for water to. So if suppose this product is mounted on the field and there is rain and there is dust and sunlight. So here you can see the wires from the glands in the back side. They were supposed to go from the gland to the pipe which is below. So what happens usually is that the water droplet follows the wire. Okay, it happens with our Tata Sky cables also. So that's why this 15-degree was angle was given so that the water can actually follow the wire and it will be dispersed in the ground. Yeah. So there was a minor angle which was also considered for user friendliness. Okay. And there is a shade which is shown over here, a minor shade, because this is a changeable kind of plate in this. And this mounting over here, you see it's a field mounting. Yeah, it is mounted on the pipe. There is a paddle sensor in the pipe. This is a digital model. Yeah. This was made for injection molding, yeah, ABS plus PC. So ABS plus PC was the material which was used. This was an inline kind of. So with this product, we developed 6 products with different variants. Okay, this was one of the final designs, and then we developed 6 products out of it. So once we change the back cover, so if there is no battery involved, then we have this such kind of setup where the product is mounted on the pipe itself. Okay, and there was a variable ring which was given to this pipe. Variable ring. So there is 25 mm to 60 mm pipe OD which can be mounted on this outer diameter pipes. So this was the prototype which was tested on the field, and we tested it for the UV exposure. We tested it for the water, rain, dust protection. We had this ultrasonic welding in the front where it could be a touch screen, it could be a rubber keypad, it could be just only LCD display. Yeah, for power saving applications it was. So one of these variants was a RF model where only messages could be received on your mobile phone. Yeah. This was one of the next variant, which was stainless steel enclosure. Yeah, and it had a tamper-proof cover only. Yeah, so it's like the electricity meter. So only display was given, no controls, and was a seal in between where only the company manufactured this seal. If you try to play around with the seal, then the product stopped working and the warranty was also void. So it was connected deep into the paddle sensor. Okay, so once you take a screwdriver and you remove that seal, then the paddle sensor turns off. Okay, it stops giving reading, and then the product is turned off automatically. This is one of, I hope people are there. Akshay, Nachiket.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so now I will just leave with this this project which I had done in 2012. Again, coming back to something called as a switch. Now, the client mentioned that it has to be a smart switch. Now, there are 2 words in this. There is a smartness and there is switch. So what is switching? So switching, I again went back to the definition that switching is going from one logical state to another. Okay, so that's called switching. It is not on and off. It is basically going from one logical state to another. So it can be various levels of logical states, or it can be 2 only, which is binary, 0 or 1, on and off. Okay, but semantically or cognitively, all the users in our domestic environment or mostly in the commercial environments, people are used to only 2 logical states, which is on and off. Okay, so now here with a product which is having on and off, I had to make something which is functional on various levels. Okay, so I'll just show you the product. So this was the keypad. So these were the typical smart switches which are available in the market. Now imagine there is a small child and wants to turn on the fan, or there are old age people in our house and they come into the room and they are confused that where to actually press or where to actually touch. Yeah. So here the smartness is actually lost. Okay. So one should always consider the user primarily, where the primary users are not just the tech savvy people, but also old age people. There are uneducated people, or maybe illiterate people, or maybe first time users, or kids. And so there's an entire range of people who use switches. Okay, so this was done for this company, which is called a Smart Living. You can see on the website also. So this was the brief, and this was the final project which was developed. Now here you see the fascia is a very typical fascia where people won't get confused. You can press on the top and it can be off. You can press on the bottom, it can be on. Okay. Now what I did is, this is a retrofit kind of enclosure. Retrofit means you remove your existing switch and you put this smart switch. Okay. Now, how to control the product? It was based on a system called as DALI protocol. Okay, DALI, digitally addressable lighting interface. Okay, so DALI protocol was involved in this, and then the entire product was developed. Now, this was not just on and off for the typical user, but this was also a 16 scene controller. Okay, 16 scene controller. So it depends on the user what needs to be programmed on individual keys. Okay, so it was simple for the primary first time user, and it was tech savvy for the everyday user. Okay, so let's say I am coming into my room, and this room has my switches. So I will program those switches for my mobile phones, and then it will automatically adjust maybe the lighting controls to maybe movie mode or a active mode or a cinema mode. It will turn on the AC. So there are various models developed for IR blasters, for let's say 16 scene controllers, all these things. So I will just show you how it was done. One specialty is that I took 1.5 years to design this product, because it was a startup, and they purely mentioned that non-technical or non-trained technicians will be involved while assembly of this product. So my final aim was to make it as simple as possible for the assembly also. Okay, so it was almost 15 seconds of assembly time for this. No screws, no soldering involved with this, and it was difficult. So it was very difficult for the designer and the engineering team involved to make this. So this was the front fascia, then the lenses, which communicated whether it is on, off, it is restarting, or it is rebooting, it is connecting with other switches. So this was a Wi-Fi operated switch. Okay, so all the switches in this entire range were having a Wi-Fi connectivity, and they communicated with each other. They made a zone with each other using Wi-Fi. Okay, and they connected with the device using DALI. So this was the back cover. Okay, so I have actually kept these products in the design lab over here, so that you can actually see the products which are manufactured. Yeah, and it is a retrofit kind of switch. So it is a smart control, programmable smart control. It is scene control. It is 100% retrofit. So you can remove your existing and then you can put. Now, retrofit was the first constraint given by the company, because it had to enter into the market. It is a technology company. It is not a manufacturer. They are not manufacturer, but they are a technology company. So they work on these protocols and these DALI-based systems, smart systems, which are used in the institutional setups or domestic setups. Then the app, because this is the physical product. Okay, now these physical products need to be configured via app. So this was the app. So again, the app was also designed by us. So this is the app. This is the first screen which you can see on the Google Play. Then here you can see the smart living demo, the third screen which you see. Yeah. So group 1, let's say if you say group 1 is for my bedroom. So what you can do is you can actually click on the camera and click the photograph of your room, and then you need not write it is bedroom. Okay, you can actually see the bedroom in the photograph. And then once you click on that, then you can see such kind of UI. Okay, so this gives the current status, the existing status of the device. Okay, so whether it is on, off, you can actually program individual switches for dimmable setups also. So dimmable lamp, dimmable fan, dimmable tube lights, all these things could be done using this app. Yeah, this was for the fan. Okay, so fan is a rotational appliance, so that's why the graphic which is shown is in the circle. Even the lamp has this intensity kind of UI. The last screen which you see is the configurator. So a person who will come and install all these things in your home or in your institution, and then they will configure the entire network intranet for you. That was the configurator app. Now, this was a complete retrofit kind of setup, but the actual aim of the company is to have something from the for a extended application. So a non-retrofit, completely grounds up made kind of switch. So here you see, this is the actual design of the product. Okay, so this was So what I thought is that now we are incorporating very many smart applications. We are using a lot of things which are considered by the user, but we never thought for something like a surrounding where it is all 4 glass walls. Okay, so you need to go out of that cabin and then you need to turn on and off the fan or the AC or whatever. So that's why this was the actual final design. So this was something like a coaster design. It is kept on your table or wherever you want it. And this had all the same applications as shown on the, I will show you the internal architecture also. So this is the product which was made. The green thing which you see over here is the lens, which is translucent or transparent. Yeah, this is the actual, the switches which are there. The central area, which is a transparent or translucent, is used for LCD display, a camera, a PIR sensor, or an IR blaster. All of these things can be mounted on that central area. So PIR sensor, so it can be used for energy saving things, energy saving devices. The camera can be used for, again, access control or FR, facial recognition. The IR blaster is used for ACs and all other IR based control devices. So here, this one is specifically for IR blaster and the switches. Then you see internal batteries over here. Again, these are rechargeable batteries. And there is a second layer of PCB, which is the power PCB, which is there, power electronics. And this is the last part of the housing. And then there is a tray. Now this tray, this can be stuck on the glass wall using double-sided tape or anything which you have. And here, the rest of the product snap fits into it. So here we extended the value of the application. Value of the application means you can have these switches mounted anywhere. Okay, if it is a conference room, then you can keep it on the table. If it is a setup which is temporary, you can keep this on the table, or you can have a holder for it. So all these things were also considered, but the application is same. So you need not modify the existing infrastructure or existing power lines. You just have to place a server near that smart control unit near that main MCB box, and then you can control that main MCB box via this remote switch. Yeah. So this was a remote control. So this was the questionnaire which was there. This is a sample of a questionnaire. Let me just check. Okay. So I will just leave this word by just showing you how consumer profiling is done, how things are identified, how market is identified, and then maybe we can end this session. Okay. Now I was working for some time with Whirlpool GCD in Gurgaon. Yeah. And there was, and that during that time, it was way back in 2007, where there was a term called as Gen X. Now it is Gen Z. So we had to make a platform, new platform for the appliances. So now what is platform, I will define later. So this is how it is done. Okay. So we have the complete spectrum of the consumer. So for a refrigerator, there is primary user, secondary user. There's various types of users from 0 to 50, 55 and above. Okay. So this is the complete spectrum of the consumer for refrigerator. Okay. And then for this specifically product, I had outlined a target group which is ranging from 20 years to 35 years. Okay, so that was Gen X target group. Now there is consumer profiling. We have to go into the depth of this consumer. Okay, it has to be exhaustively done. I had to do consumer shadowing for almost a week. So you need to stand in the shadows and observe the consumer behavior. Where does the consumer go? How is the decision made? How the payments are done? How the transportation is done? Why there are some things which are bought regularly? Why there are some things which are not bought regularly? Refrigerator is not something which is bought regularly. It is while migration from one segment to another. So if you are a first time buyer, you will get a 200-liter refrigerator, and then you go for a replacement of that refrigerator. You go above the capacity, which is 220 and above, to a certain capacity, and then you go to a luxury home. Then you have the side by side refrigerator. So The refrigerators for Whirlpool were mapped in that way only. So there was first Genius, which is a single door refrigerator. Then there is a Mastermind, which is a 2-door lower capacity refrigerator. Then there is a third refrigerator, which is called as a Professional. So it is a 2-door bigger refrigerator. And then there is a side-by-side refrigerator. Okay. So I'm just talking in terms of refrigerator. This is just an example. So this is the study which is done. There is psychographics of female. Then there is psychographics of male. This is specifically for the target user group. Okay. And this is from 2007. This is personal life. So we had to go and live with some of the consumers. So we had paid a research agency. So they identified some of the users and we had to live for one day with them, identifying their complete activity map. So once they get up in the morning till the second day in the morning. So we had to note down everything. What was their daily lifestyle? What was their weekend lifestyle? What was their, let's say, leisure activities, and what are the buying patterns, and all these things we had to do. So there was a change in buying pattern. Imagine that time there was a change which was happening from unorganized to organized. Okay. So from a Sabzi Mandi to malls. So this was happening even for clothes, even for spices, for everything. There was a change in buying pattern. Yeah, we had to study the change in buying pattern. And this is the consumer probing. What is consumer probing? So understanding their buying pattern, understanding their lifestyle, understanding the style preferences, which is a very difficult job. And whom do we research first? Well, that's the very important question. Whom do we research? So traditional mastermind target group or new target group. Yeah. So everything was done, and I will just show you the process which was involved. Just have a look at how elaborate this process was. So there are some unarticulated uses. Usually in our homes, we see the refrigerators are used for other purposes also. So we keep something usually on the top surface, which is flat and blank and not used. Okay. People also keep ovens and microwaves, which is opposite to the preservation. Yeah. And then there is notepads, there is images, there are photos, there are memories, there are to-do lists, and all these things are there on the refrigerator, which tells us many things about the user. Okay. Product roadmap, and there is few considerations. Okay. And this is the big ideas. So these were the explorations. These all explorations are not just sketches, but also a few renders which can show. So this is one example of a render. Okay. So we can have a ref with microwave. We can have a ref with air blower. We can have a matrix of capacities. Yeah. Scalable refrigerator. So this is the analysis of that, and then the trend projections and all of these things. So I would have loved, so this is CFM, okay, color finishes and materials. This is 5 years down the line, what will be in, okay, what will be in the fashion, or what will be accepted as a lifestyle. So I'm just showing you, running through the initial explorations. And this is the final output. I mean, you would never expect that this is the final output, because usually people tend to see only renders and all those things. But here, change in the entire process of manufacturing was the design process. Okay, was actually the design process, using the existing infrastructure, using the existing method of manufacturing. Minor changes in the process can have us these capacities of refrigerators. Okay, these many capacities of refrigerators. Got it? So okay, so I would hope to continue this introduction into product design soon, if people ask for it. But we may do that eventually with much more topics to discuss in terms of introduction to product design. But again, I have tried to explain as much as possible the stages in the product design process. do we have any questions or any queries? Or we might end the session. Anyone? Okay. So thanks a lot, everyone, and it was a great time which I had in terms of sharing a few insights in product design process. So see you soon later. Thanks a lot. Bye. Sharon, you can end the recording.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kushal sir.
Okay. Uttam.
Yes. And thank you, coordinators also for arranging this beautiful webinar. Hope this webinar is very insightful for everyone. We will be having many more webinars like this. Stay tuned. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks a lot. Bye.